On Sunday, we will be seeing the Jacksonville Jaguars take on the LA Chargers on Sunday. So, in this video, I want to talk about the 5 key matchups for the Chargers going against the Jaguars and kind of go through some of the key factors, key position groups, and everything that I think will directly affect the game. Now, if that's something you think you will enjoy, please give me a like and subscribe. It truly means the world to me, and I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I could not do that without your guys' help. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into this. The 5 key matchups for the Chargers versus the Jaguars. Now, first thing that I kind of want to cover here, and it technically isn't a matchup, but it's going to be something really important, is going to be the Chargers and their health situation. Now, currently it is Wednesday. I'm not sure when this video will be going up, but with that being said, we have a lot of question marks still up in the air. Corey Linsley went down with an injury in the second half of Thursday's game. We also got to see Trey Pipkins go out. Justin Herbert got pretty banged up, and Keenan Allen missed the entirety of week 2. With all that being said, we have not got any updates on any of these guys and whether they will be or will not be participating. But there is some good news. On the Justin Herbert part of things, it's potential that he could miss the game, but from the sounds of it, it's going to be primarily a pain tolerance injury, not something that's going to be limiting his playability. So it's just going to be up to Justin Herbert on whether he wants to play or not, but I don't think it changes a whole lot on what the key matchups are. For Corey Linsley, it seems that he has just kind of a simple injury that a lot of common people have. I think it was tendonitis or something, which means that he likely will be playing in the Sunday's game. It's just more of like a bothering injury than a really bad injury. For Trey Pipkins, we don't really know what's going to happen. And with Keenan Allen, he was questionable for last week's game. And the fact that he was questionable then and could have participated makes it likely for me to think that he will be participating in this week's game. But now that we kind of went through something that's extremely important and something we will need to be watching as time goes on, let's go through the things that we already know, the 5 key matchups for this game. Now, the first matchup I want to talk about here is going to be the Chargers and third down offense versus the Jaguars defense. So, in week 2, the Jaguars held the Colts to 0 points, and the Colts went 2-for-10 on third down attempts. Now, even with Jonathan Taylor and Matt Ryan, they struggled to get anything going on offense for the entire game, especially on third downs. With, on average, being about a 50% completion on third downs, 20% is way below that. Now, on the other side of things, the Chargers have gone 11 for 30 on the year, which is, again, plenty below 50%. And they did that through 2 games. Now, the fact is, with many of these third down opportunities being short downs where you can pass it or run it, and the fact that the Chargers have not been able to convert is something that's a little bit baffling to think about. But after losing Keenan Allen, who was their top third down receptionist last year, it is kind of understanding why they have dropped off so much, because their number 1 target has not been playing through a game and a half. But the thing is, the Jaguars already held the Colts to 2-for-10, which makes the fact that the Chargers, who are already below 50%, just that much worrisome that they may stay further below 50% going into this game. Now, the fact is that the Jaguars defense, who honestly has looked quite good for what they've had, has not went against any great talent, so it does make it a little bit more comforting that the Chargers, who have an incredible offense when fully healthy and firing on all cylinders, will be able to convert their third downs when they're given the opportunity to. Now, the next matchup here we're going to talk about is slowing down the Jacksonville Jaguars rushing game. Now, last year the Chargers were at the bottom of the league in run defense, but after bringing in some extreme help and some incredible support, it seems that they took a step in the right direction, holding Josh Jacobs and the Raiders to 64 yards in week 1. And by the way, Josh Jacobs is a Pro Bowl caliber running back, and they held them below 100 at 64 yards, which is very, very good. In week 2, we would see the Chiefs lay down a solid amount of yards with 93 rushing yards, which is definitely higher than you would want, but not too terrible to look at since the defense as a whole was doing pretty solid throughout most of the game. On the other side of things, though, the Jaguars have looked very good in the rushing offense, with James Robinson looking great for the Jags, having 130 yards through 2 games. Even with the Chargers allowing 93 yards in week 2 and not looking great, they're still 7th best in the league for defensive rushing defense, so it is likely they will be able to slow down guys for the Jaguars and hopefully take full advantage and slow down James Robinson, because if you take James Robinson out of the fold, who has 130 yards and has been doing very good, if you take him out of the fold, it's definitely going to slow down their offense a ton. And speaking about slowing down their offense, the next matchup here is going to be J.C. Jackson versus Christian Kirk. Now, both of these guys got some massive contracts this offseason, both being massive news, but for very different reasons. J.C. Jackson got paid big time and was expected to be performing at a top level, but missed week 1 and looked not at full speed, a little bit rusty in week 2, but hopefully he'll be back to full speed, because when he is at full speed, he's one of the best cornerbacks in the league. For Christian Kirk, though, many thought it was a massive overpay, but credit to him, he has already proved many people wrong. Currently, Christian Kirk sits at 7th in the league in receiving yards, which is extremely good for him and the Jaguars offense, who it seems like he's brought a whole new light to this and allowed Trevor Lawrence to look very good out there. Now, J.C. Jackson has continually shut down top wide receivers throughout his entire career, with Christian Kirk being more than 50% of the Jacksonville Jaguars receiving through these 2 weeks. If J.C. Jackson can just slow down Christian Kirk a little bit, even half of his normal production, the Jags offense will dramatically slow down and force Trevor Lawrence to find different open men. And the fact is, with guys like Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James, and even Michael Davis, as well as the fact that the constant pressure from the D-line, it's likely that this team can convert some turnovers if you can slow down Christian Kirk. Now, the fourth kind of matchup topic I want to talk about is Chargers scoring drives. And although this isn't really a matchup against the Jags, it is something really important to look at. In both week 1 and week 2, the Chargers would only score 24 points, which is just barely better than the league average per team per game at 22.8. Even with the team scoring more than the average, though, there is still some worrying stats for the Chargers' scoring attempts. The Chargers are 14th in the league in red zone efficiency, right in the middle of the pack, with a 62.5% of the time they're scoring a touchdown. And they also, even with those touchdowns, they're not consistently getting points when they are there, only having 2 field goals when they fail to get a touchdown. Now, Jacksonville also only allows 50% of red zone appearances to be a touchdown, which is dramatically worse than what the Chargers are sitting at now, which means that their defense is quite a bit better than some of the ones the Chargers have faced so far. The Chargers also sit at 8 of 22 on scoring drives, which means when they get the ball, outside of, I think, one possession where they only had one play before halftime, when they get the ball, 22 possessions so far this year, they have only scored 8 times of those, including 2 of them being field goals, scoring on 36% of drives and 27% of those being touchdowns. It's not terrible until you kind of look at some of these more advanced stats. On average, teams score in the past couple of years on 40% of their drives, being a field goal or a touchdown. So the Chargers are below that by about 4%, and more commonly than not, it's above 40%. Now, on the other side of things, for scoring on touchdowns, the Chargers are actually in the right direction, with the average being about 25% and Chargers are at 27%. So the big kind of thing here is going to be, with the Chargers taking on a defense that has looked very solid for the Jaguars, they need to find a way to get some points on the board very early and very late, because it seems like a lot of their points are coming early on and they just kind of fade away as their lead, because some play calling conservatively that I think can get worked through here in the coming weeks. Now, the fifth and final key matchup is going to pertain to the wide receiver group. And as mentioned, we don't really know if Keenan Allen will be playing this week, but a big guy that we do know will be playing is Mike Williams. And this matchup is going to be Mike Williams versus the Jags cornerbacks. Now, at this time, we're not really sure who's going to cover him with Mike Williams' size and his speed. Are they going to want someone that's quick or bigger? We're not so sure yet. But in week 2, Mike Williams put up 113 yards on 8 receptions and a touchdown. Having been the focal point of the Chargers offense, he completely dominated his matchups, catching 50-50 balls, getting in breaking routes and out breaking routes that he was catching, as well as a one-handed touchdown. Now, for the Jaguars, they have allowed Antonio Gibson Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, and Ashton Davis, all to have over 50 receiving yards in just 2 games. 4 guys, so on average you're having 2 guys above 50 yards. So even with the Jaguars defense looking pretty solid, they're still allowing a pretty solid amount of yards through the air to top-level wide receivers. So if Keenan Allen returns, expect both Mike and him to have over 50 yards. But even if not, I think that Mike Williams will have an incredible game, being the fact that, the Jaguars really don't have anyone that can match up to him too well. So if they're not doubling him, I expect Mike Williams to have an incredible game. But with all that being said, those are the 5 key matchups for the Chargers going against the Jaguars this week. What are your guys' thoughts on this? If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like and subscribe. It truly means the world to me. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I can't do that without you guys. Quick thing here, though. Predictions. I kind of skipped over that. Predictions for this game are going to be Mike Williams with 80-plus yards and a touchdown. Herbert, if he plays, will have 4 passing touchdowns. And I think Austin Eckler is going to get some things rolling here. I expect him to have over 50 rushing yards. On the other side of the ball, I think Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack are going to combine for 5 sacks, with Trevor Lawrence being forced to run all over, and the Jaguars not having an incredible offense. And I expect 3 turnovers, I'm going to say, and most likely one of them is going to be a fumble in the run game. And final score predictions, with the Chargers not scoring a lot through the first 2 weeks, I'm not going to go too out there, and I think it's going to be a 28 to 17 is going to be the ball game. I think Trevor Lawrence and that offense are going to get it rolling a little bit, but it won't be enough to stop a very potent Chargers offense. So 28 to 17. What are your guys' thoughts on that? And as always, I hope it taught something today. I hope it made you smile, I hope it made you laugh. Something's really important to me. Affects the most day in a great way, because every single day can be a great day if you all just put in the effort. And as always, you guys all be safe out there. But something deep